Joining me to discuss the week ahead for financial markets is Patrice Guthrie, Chief Economist at UBP. Thank you for joining me today. Let's begin with the RBA rate decision. Investors will be closely watching this on Tuesday. Analysts expect the official cash rate to remain at 3.5%. However, a one rate cut is anticipated at some point before 2013. Patrice, what do you expect from Tuesday's meeting and how will the results affect the markets?
I do share the view of the consensus, that is to say, I think that the RBI will stay stable, and I do expect a decrease in interest rates for the first quarter in next year to 3%. But at this point of time, we saw that economic data were important and also growth was solid, but we do expect some slowdown in the activity that could justify the decrease and the further adjustment in terms of interest rates. So, yes, a decrease, but not at this point of time and for the first quarter of next year.
On Wednesday, Canada is releasing some data, including the Bank of Canada rate decision. What do you expect and what is your outlook for the Canadian economy?
We do expect that the Bank of Canada will remain on hold in the next quarters, and we do think that the Canadian economy will also have the Australian economy will experiment a slowdown. We do have important data coming soon, and we think that the Canadian economy will enter in a slowdown.
The ECB rate decision will be one of the most closely monitored events next week. What do you expect to be addressed by Draghi?
Yes, a very important event. We do expect from Mr. Draghi's speech that more details about the effective support that the ECB should deliver in favor of the distressed countries, and which now looks totally justified because the activity is entering in a very sharp recession. And also, there is a possibility that the ECB could decrease its interest rates. If it's not the next meeting, it will be the other one, but it would be justified, but very poor data, economic data.
Eurozone GDP will also be released next week. Do you think there will be any change in these figures?
The minus 0.2% seems in line with what we had in terms of monthly data, but as mentioned, the worrying situation is that the Eurozone is entering in a very sharp recession, and we do expect that, unfortunately, for the next quarters, this recession should deepen further, and we do expect a minus 0.7% for the total 2012 year in terms of economic performances for the Eurozone.
The Bank of England rate decision will also be out on Thursday. How do you think these results will impact the performance of the sterling?
We do expect some further easing coming from the Bank of England, so there is the possibility, because we are also for the United Kingdom economy in a recession period of time. So we do expect some quantitative easing. We do also expect some further easing in interest rates. So it could dampen the sterling and the next month.
And Swiss GDP, what are you expecting to see in these results?
We do expect 0.4% in terms of GDP figures. That is to say, we are in a slowdown process for the Swiss economy, but all in all, for the whole year, we do expect a 1% rate of growth, which looks quite significant if we compare with the Eurozone. As you know, the Swiss franc is now totally pegged with the euro, and we do expect that the peg will not be changed by the Swiss National Bank at this point of time. So a stable rate of exchange rate for the Swiss franc.
And finally, Patrice, U.S. manufacturing and non-farm payrolls data comes out next week. Experts predict the ISM figures to be little changed from the last reading of 52.6. What do you expect from the ISM and the non-farm payroll results?
Okay, I will be more cautious about the ISM, but I would prefer perhaps the lower the bottom of the range of 51, 53 for the ASM index. And for the non-farm payrolls, I do expect figures around 150,000. The outlook for the US dollar depends heavily on what will be the results coming from the ECB meeting, of course. And the past week, we saw that the US dollar index as versus the euro has been stable. This process could continue unless we see negative results coming from the ECB or lower figures than expected from the US economy.
Thank you very much, Patrice, for sharing your forecast for next week's events. On Monday, I'll be looking at today's events at Jackson Hole. In the meantime, have a good weekend and do stay tuned to Dukascopy TV to keep up to date with the latest Forex and economic news.